everybody, and welcome to the Think Different podcast. This is Will. It has been quite some time, as you know. We have been absent on the podcast, and this episode is really just a quick one because I want to let everyone know what has been going on, why we haven't been here, because it's been a lot. And I figure I'm going to let you know exactly what's going on in our lives and why our podcast has not been updated in such a while. So I'm going to start off right away with Frank Funk, who is not here on this podcast, just me being solo, and I'll tell you why. So Frank did come down with a case of COVID. So for a while, he was unable to be a part of our show, and I didn't want to record one by myself. So if you look on our YouTube channel, I did a couple of videos in our absence. So we did an episode on numbers and how to use a budget, as well as 5 days at Memorial. We did that as well, so I did a review, and also how to create memojis and save them on your Mac. So that's what we've been doing in his absence, just to have some content for our channel. And we do appreciate everyone on the YouTube checking us out. It seems like it's been more a direction that we're leaning towards is our YouTube, because that's where we're getting the most views and the most hits. And honestly, we're getting money on that one, so that's probably the biggest reason why. So I know some people do like our audio version, and I do appreciate you guys listening when you can. My life has been a little crazier than that with him. He has recovered from COVID. He's fine. He just bought himself a new Mac Studio, which is awesome. He's just getting a display now, so I'm sure he'll give us some results on that with it. Right now, I am recording in Florida. Obviously, I live in New Jersey. So that's where I am right now. Before we were going down here, though, my wife had to get surgery. She had a tennis elbow, even though she doesn't play tennis, but because she's been lifting our son, and she has been on a computer recording or a computer working at home. Whenever you use your hand a certain way or your elbow a certain way, you get very stiff, or you're using it in one angle constantly. And you could probably get this, like if you were on the phone 7 days a week and you're always typing with your thumb and everything, you'll feel like almost like a tendon issue with it. So that's what kind of happened, and she had to get surgery on it. So for 11 days she was in a cast. She couldn't lift our son out of the crib or do anything, so I was home taking care of him the entire time. So I had to take off work just to do it. And on top of it, she now has in a metal brace that she's going to be stuck with for at least 4 to 6 weeks. And that is just the beginning of everything. On top of it, my son had to be left with my mother. She developed a cough and then gave it to my son. So he was sick for a while. And so that kind of delayed us also. This is on top of her having the arm surgery. So that's happened to me. Now, let's talk about what's beyond that. Fast forward to a week before we're going to Florida. My mother and my sister were going down to Virginia Beach, as they do every year. I could not join them since we were coming down here to see my wife's parents, and we only see them once a year. We can't take 2 trips back to back. It just wouldn't be possible. And before the day or two before going down, my mother all of a sudden couldn't see out of her right eye, and all of a sudden her eye got bloodshot red, and she went completely blind in her eye. One day before they were leaving to go to Virginia Beach. So she had to go to Philadelphia and get a specialist to help out with her eye. She literally had to put eye drops in her eye for an hour every day for 48 hours. So imagine you not sleeping for 48 hours straight, because you got to do this thing to save your eye. Thankfully, she's getting some vision back, but it's going to be a very long road for her to come back from this. So she's going to be doing eye drops for a long, long time. And I'm recording this, of course, during a thunderstorm here in Florida. God forbid we don't have a thunderstorm here in Florida, right? So my sister had to go down to Virginia Beach by herself with her family. And they still had a good time. They make the best out of the situation, but there's nothing they could do here. Moving forward, my wife's brother had a serious surgery to help out with his intestines bursting. The surgery was done about 8 or 9 months ago. The wound all of a sudden opened up, and he was pouring pints of blood. They have estimated that he lost about over 4 pints of blood. bleeding through his shirt. The wound opened up, and when I saw the picture of the wound, it looks like Iron Man's symbol size in his like stomach area. It was crazy big. On top of that, he now suffered a hernia because of it, and now he's back in the hospital, and we didn't know when he was going to get out. As of this recording, he had his surgery today, which seemed to be successful. So thank God for that. And we're going to see how his recovery will be, but it'll be a very long road for him as well. So we already knew that going down to Florida, that was going to happen. We were probably not going to see him, and my son has not met his godfather yet. He has never met him. So, and he's been born now for 21 months at this point. So every time he was supposed to come up, he couldn't. So that was, if you think that was bad, you're going to love this next part. So about a day or two before we were leaving from Florida, her mother was complaining about her not feeling well, and we were a little worried of coming down here because we don't want Luke to be around people that are sick. We've already just recovered from a sickness. So she insisted that we come down, so we did. And the day we got here, first off, Luke was great on the plane. Like, I couldn't believe how good this kid was on the plane. When we got off the plane and started driving, all of a sudden he just threw up everywhere in the car, like in his car seat on top of himself. It was just a really crazy experience that he ate something, off a plane. And I don't know if he just ate too much juice or something. I don't know what he did, but he just really messed up himself. I don't know how he did it. We get here, her mom is still not feeling great, and all of a sudden she's throwing up inside her room. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this cannot be happening. We already have enough going on. Now we have this happening. And the next day, I can hear her overnight. I'm sleeping and I'm hearing her throwing up, and it's crazy. Finally, I wake up in the morning. We're finally going to kind of run some errands that we need to do for our son. He needs like stuff while we're here. We open the door because she kept the door shut because she didn't want Luke to come in, and the craziest thing happened where I saw her on the floor, and he wasn't moving. She was not moving. She's telling me to leave and go take care of him because she only cares about Luke, doing things for Luke. I'm like, I see her on the floor. She can't move. And by the way, it's raining out, so this is just adding another mess to my whole recording here. And the bottom line is, she couldn't move. And I couldn't get her up, and I was like, you got to call 911 now. Something is not right because she has been throwing up nonstop, and she can't keep anything down. She has a lot of issues as it is. She's a stage 4 cancer survivor, guys. I mean, she has so many issues, but she's survived. She's a fireman. And seeing her on the floor, unable to move, is crazy to me. So at this point, I told her to call 911. I had to deadlift her from the floor next to her vomit onto the bed. She's sweating like crazy. I got a bunch of cold towels, covered her up with cold towels just to make her feel better, get her to drink a little bit of water, cold water. The paramedics show up. They find out her blood pressure is way low, and at this point, she has to go to the hospital. So they transfer her to the hospital. They give her IV while she's there because she has not eaten in 3 days, and with a lot of her conditions, it requires her to eat. So, yeah. And now her brother and her mother are both in the hospital right now. We were supposed to go to Disney for a couple days, and really 1 day with them. I had to switch everything around. We ended up going 2 days because only her stepfather is here. He's not going to leave his wife, so we had to go by ourselves with our son, even though it was supposed to be with her mother and father. So we ended up going to Disney for a couple of days, and that was a whole other story to talk about with Disney. And I'd like to do a review on that, just to talk about my experiences at Disney with my son and how it pertains to Apple, because we use a lot of our iPhone while you're there. So that's where we are now. My wife's even got like a sinus infection right now because when you change environments, like I took allergy medicine to make sure I could adjust to the change of the environment. It was super hot in Florida, 100% humidity every day, so it was not that comfortable walking around. My son's in a carriage, while you're walking around. He wants to walk, and he hasn't been walking the last 2 days. And I think any kid under that age, when they want to walk and they can't because in a theme park it's just too crazy, he gets aggravated, So it wasn't great, but that's been what's been going on like the last 60 days in my life. I've been fine. I've been working, even though she's been home trying to take care of him with one arm. She's doing the best she can, but my God, you talk about a crazy story. Like, if you wanted to go on a vacation, if all the possible worst things other than death happening pretty much happened with me, with my mother, my stepmother, my stepbrother, my son sick, it's just been a lot on me. And this is kind of like a release for me to record this podcast and get it out to you guys to know where we've been. We're not stopping the podcast or anything. It's just been a really rough couple months. On top of that, my job, we have new people coming into our new job. My goal is to set up 71 computers with my team. So that's a lot of work to do. And we did it. We actually did very well. Work actually got me away from some of the stress. But coming down here to Florida, this has got to be the worst vacation I've ever been on, with all the plans just getting messed up. So what a crazy time it has been in my life the last couple months. I really do appreciate everybody really being cool with us, being patient with us. It's just been a lot to do, and I really am, it's really just been something, it's a lot of stress to deal with, trying to do this, trying to have a video business, worry about my mom, worry about what's going on down here, because we're going to be leaving here the next day after this podcast airs, trying to figure out what to do and moving forward. And yeah, so that's been what's my life has been the last couple of days, months, whatever. So I appreciate you guys kind of listening in on me, what's been going on in my life. And we hope to create a lot more content for you guys, especially on the podcast. WWDC was going on while I was in Disney, so I didn't really get to watch the keynote. I plan on watching that when I'm on the plane, since I'll have the time to watch it. So I'm going to download it and keep and take a look at it. A lot of things are very promising going forward. I'm very excited for the AirPods. I think the wearables have actually really outshined the iPhone this year with that new Ultra watch. That looks really cool. Not only just for the active person, or it's focusing on a lot of niche hobbies that people have, on top of the fact that it just looks cool. And the AirPods Pro 2 just look amazing. I think my AirPods Pros are time to go. So I'm really excited to check out some of the reviews of these guys, watch the keynote. Me and Frank will definitely at some point next week come back up here and do an episode and talk about what we saw at WWDC, even though we're going to be super late on it. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. I appreciate you guys listening in on my story, and I hope that any love that you can send my way to my family's way, I would really appreciate it. So thank you guys, and I love every single one of you.